A siege that shocked the world. On the quiet afternoon of April 30th, 1980, the heart of London was suddenly gripped by terror. 6 armed men from the Democratic Revolutionary Front for the Liberation of Arabistan stormed the Iranian Embassy at Prince's Gate, seizing 26 hostages, including diplomats, staff, and visitors. In an instant, a routine spring day in South Kensington became the center of an international crisis. The gunmen, armed with automatic weapons and grenades, quickly made their demands: the release of over 90 Arab prisoners held in Iranian jails and safe passage out of the United Kingdom. Their cause was largely unknown to the British public, but their methods were brutally clear. Any failure to meet their demands would result in the execution of hostages. As news spread, the scene outside the embassy transformed into a media circus and a fortified standoff. Crowds gathered. Police snipers took positions. Global media beamed live coverage of the unfolding siege into homes across the world. For 6 tense days, British authorities attempted to resolve the crisis through negotiation, using trained intermediaries, while carefully monitoring every movement within the building. Inside, the hostages endured threats, beatings, and the ever-present fear of death. By May 5th, the situation reached its breaking point. The terrorists executed one of the hostages, a British citizen named Abbas Lavasani, and threw his body out the front door of the embassy. The message was unmistakable: more would die unless their demands were met. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's government made a fateful decision. Enough was enough. At precisely 7:23 p.m., just as the world watched live footage expecting another routine broadcast update, the television screens flickered and exploded with scenes of chaos. Explosions shattered windows, smoke poured from the upper floors. Dark-clad figures in gas masks and combat gear descended on ropes from the rooftop and stormed the front entrance with practiced speed and lethal precision. The Special Air Service, Britain's elite special forces, had been deployed under the codename Operation Nimrod. In just 17 blistering minutes, the SAS neutralized 5 of the 6 terrorists, rescued all but 1 of the remaining hostages, and stunned the watching world with a level of skill and speed never before witnessed on live television. The 6th terrorist, captured alive, was taken into custody and later sentenced to life in prison. It was the first time the British public had seen their shadowy counterterrorism unit in action, and it changed the perception of modern warfare and domestic security forever. The Iranian Embassy siege was more than a hostage crisis. It was a turning point in global counterterrorism. It showcased how a democratic nation could respond decisively to extremism without sacrificing its values. It elevated the SAS to legendary status and became a blueprint for hostage rescue operations across the globe. This is the full, untold story of what really happened behind the scenes and inside the embassy. A tale of calculated terror, unimaginable pressure, steely resolve, and the quiet courage of men trained to win in the shadows. The Takeover. Terror in the Heart of London, April 30th, 1980, 11:30 a.m. A quiet morning at 16, Prince's Gate, Kensington, was shattered in seconds. The Iranian Embassy, nestled among the elegant facades of London's diplomatic quarter, bustled with routine activity, staff handling paperwork, answering phones, and preparing for the day's diplomatic meetings. Outside, tourists wandered past the tree-lined street, unaware that history was about to unfold behind those brick walls. Suddenly, the calm was ruptured by chaos. 6 armed men, dressed in civilian clothes and carrying pistols, submachine guns, and grenades, stormed the building. With brutal efficiency, they seized control of the embassy's main reception area. Shouting in Arabic and broken English, they ordered everyone to the ground. Their leader, a lean and intense 27-year-old Iraqi national named On Ali Mohammed, known by his alias Salim, took command of the situation. "This is an Arab freedom movement," he declared. "Everyone on the floor." His voice echoed through the ornate halls of the embassy, a sound of terror that would haunt those present for years to come. Within minutes, 26 people were hostages: diplomats, embassy staff, visiting journalists, and even a pregnant woman. Panic spread quickly as the gunmen herded them into a room and barricaded the doors. Windows were shuttered, phones ripped from walls. The outside world was shut out until the terrorists made contact with police. They identified themselves as members of the Democratic Revolutionary Front for the Liberation of Arabistan, an obscure separatist group seeking independence for Khuzestan, a predominantly Arab province in southwestern Iran. Their motive was political, their methods unmistakably violent. The demands were delivered with chilling clarity. First, the immediate release of 91 Arab prisoners held in Iranian jails, many of them accused of separatist uprisings or political dissent. Second, they demanded safe passage out of the United Kingdom, likely to an Arab country sympathetic to their cause. If these conditions were not met within 48 hours, they warned, they would begin executing hostages one by one. The British government, now thrust into a high-stakes international crisis, responded by deploying a team of police negotiators to the scene. Roads were cordoned off, snipers positioned on surrounding rooftops, helicopters hovered above, and behind the scenes, Britain's most elite counter-terrorist unit, the Special Air Service, SAS, was quietly placed on standby. For the moment, however, all eyes remained on the embassy. The world's media began broadcasting live from the cordoned perimeter. As night fell over London, one thing was certain. What had started as a diplomatic workday had turned into an unprecedented siege, one that would soon test Britain's resolve and change the face of counterterrorism forever. The standoff: Scotland Yard versus the gunmen. As news of the Iranian Embassy takeover spread across the globe, London's Metropolitan Police moved swiftly into action. Within hours, the elegant row of white Georgian buildings at 16 Prince's Gate was transformed into the center of a growing international crisis. Police vans, barricades, media crews, and heavily armed units now surrounded the embassy. The quiet district of South Kensington had become a fortress. At the center of the response was Chief Superintendent John Dello, a calm and methodical negotiator known for his steady nerves. His mission: to establish contact with the gunmen and buy precious time for the hostages and for the elite military unit preparing behind the scenes. From a police command post set up in a nearby building, Dello opened a line of communication with the terrorists. Using a simple field telephone passed through a window, he spoke directly with the group's leader, Owan Ali Mohammed. The conversations were tense and unpredictable. The terrorists demanded to speak to Arab media. They ranted about the oppression of Arabs in Iran. They threatened to begin killing hostages if their demands weren't met. Over the course of 6 long days, the situation remained in delicate balance. In a gesture meant to demonstrate good faith, the terrorists released 5 hostages, including a pregnant woman and a wounded embassy staff member. But their behavior grew increasingly erratic, at times willing to talk, at other moments irrational and hostile. Salim's tone became more agitated with each passing hour. Inside the embassy, conditions worsened. The hostages were held in stifling rooms with little food or water. Tempers frayed, fear mounted. The gunmen, young, nervous, and heavily armed, became more volatile as their hopes for negotiation faded. May 5, 1980, the breaking point. At precisely 1:45 p.m., the fragile ceasefire shattered. 2 sharp gunshots rang out from inside the embassy. Moments later, the terrorists shoved the lifeless body of Abbas Lavasani, the embassy's press attaché, out the front door. He had tried to reason with the gunmen, pleading for the safety of his colleagues. Salim had ordered his execution in cold blood. The message from the gunmen was clear and chilling. Next, We kill another in 30 minutes. The British government had reached its limit. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was informed. The Home Office gave the order. The time for negotiation was over. A decision was made in stark, simple terms. Send in the SAS. Operation Nimrod, the SAS strikes. By the evening of May 5, 1980, the situation inside the Iranian Embassy had reached a deadly impasse. With a hostage already executed and others facing imminent death, the British government gave the green light for military action. The responsibility fell to the Special Air Service, SAS, Britain's elite and most secretive special forces unit, trained for moments just like this. The plan. The SAS had been quietly preparing for days. They'd studied the layout of the embassy using blueprints and a hastily constructed replica nearby. Their plan was built around three principles: shock, speed, and precision. Entry would be made from multiple directions to disorient the terrorists. Each second would count. Every trooper had a clear role: to neutralize threats and shield the innocent. At 7:23 p.m., the command was issued from headquarters. Go, go, go. Phase 1, explosions and repelling television viewers across Britain watched in stunned silence as black-clad figures suddenly appeared on the roof of the embassy. Using abseil ropes, SAS teams descended with stunning agility, smashing through upstairs windows with flashbangs and sledgehammers. Simultaneously, a diversionary explosion rocked the front balcony, drawing the gunmen's attention. Inside, chaos erupted. Phase 2. Room-by-room combat. The SAS operatives swept through the embassy floor by floor in tight formations, shouting, "Get down! British Army!" to avoid friendly fire. They moved methodically, clearing each room in seconds. Anyone holding a weapon was immediately gunned down. In one room, a terrorist was caught mid-throw with a grenade in hand. Before he could release it, he was dropped by a precise burst of gunfire. In another, Salim, the group's leader, tried to disappear into a cluster of frightened hostages, crouching low, hoping to be mistaken for one of them. But he was recognized, called out, and shot. Phase 3. The final shot. As smoke filled the embassy and the operation neared its conclusion, one last terrorist, Faisal, attempted a desperate trick. Blending in with a group of hostages, he raised his hands, feigning innocence. But one SAS operator, sharp-eyed and calm under pressure, noticed something wrong. Faisal was the only hostage still wearing a magazine pouch. The soldier shouted, "Oi!" and in a heartbeat, fired a single fatal shot to the head. The aftermath. In just 17 minutes, it was over. Of the 26 hostages, 19 were rescued unharmed. 5 of the 6 terrorists were killed, and the 6th captured alive. Only one hostage died, a tragic loss from smoke inhalation, not gunfire. The embassy burned from the explosions, but the swift action had prevented a massacre. Operation Nimrod had succeeded beyond expectations. The SAS had demonstrated what elite training, discipline, and courage could achieve in the face of terror. The raid became an instant legend, shown live on international television and studied by military and counterterrorism forces around the world for decades to come. The legacy. How the SAS changed history. In the aftermath of the Iranian Embassy siege, the world's perception of counterterrorism changed overnight. Before May 1980, Britain's Special Air Service, SAS, was a shadowy, little-known unit, operating quietly behind the scenes in far-off battlefields. That all changed in 17 explosive minutes. Operation Nimrod had been broadcast live on television. Millions watched in real time as masked soldiers in black uniforms, wielding suppressed submachine guns and storming a building under siege, ended a hostage crisis with astonishing speed and precision. From that moment forward, the SAS was no longer secret. They were legendary. The Black Kit, featuring gas masks, black fatigues, flashbangs, and compact weapons like the MP5, became the global image of elite special forces. Their tactics were studied by military academies, intelligence agencies, and police units around the world. The United States Delta Force, Germany's GSG-9, and countless other units would adapt and replicate the SAS's model of swift, overwhelming action in crisis situations. The lesson was clear: with the right training and preparation, terrorism could be met head-on and beaten. But the legacy of the raid wasn't only about tactics and gear, it was also human. Only one terrorist survived the operation. Fauzi Badavi-Nejad, an Iraqi national and member of the Democratic Revolutionary Front for the Liberation of Arabistan, was found hiding among the hostages in the smoky chaos. He was arrested on the spot, tried in a British court, and sentenced to life in prison. After serving 27 years, he was released in 2008 and deported, his name etched into history as the lone survivor of a failed act of terror. Among the hostages, many carried their own scars and stories. PC Trevor Locke, the embassy's assigned police officer, had been held under constant threat for 6 days. Yet during the final moments of the siege, he tackled one of the terrorists himself, helping prevent further bloodshed. His bravery was later recognized with the George Medal. Another hostage, Sim Harris, a BBC sound engineer, had been inside the embassy throughout the ordeal. After his release, he became a prominent voice recounting the human toll and trauma of being caught in the crossfire of politics, terror, and survival. His later writings offered rare insight into what those 6 days meant to those trapped inside. The Iranian Embassy siege and its dramatic resolution became more than just a rescue mission. It was a global watershed moment, a demonstration of resolve in the face of rising terrorism, a showcase of military excellence, and a symbol of Britain's refusal to be bullied. The SAS didn't just end a crisis, they redefined how the world fights back. A defining moment in British history. The Iranian Embassy. Siege in 1980 was more than just a successful military operation. It marked a turning point in how the modern world viewed terrorism, hostage crises, and the use of elite forces to confront them. For Britain, it was a bold and public declaration. It would never bow to terrorist demands, regardless of the pressure, the risk, or the potential consequences. The decision to unleash the SAS was not taken lightly, but it spoke volumes. In a moment of crisis, the country chose action over fear. For the Special Air Service, the mission became the moment that defined their reputation on the global stage. What had once been a discreet and secretive unit was now the face of counterterrorism excellence. Their performance, executed with flawless coordination, speed, and discipline, captured the imagination of the world and set a new standard for similar operations worldwide. And for the watching public, it was proof that a measured, resolute response could overcome even the most dangerous threats. The message was clear. When confronted by violence and fear, a nation can still act with honor, precision, and determination. Though the siege lasted 6 tense days, the rescue took only 17 unforgettable minutes, minutes that changed history. Lives were saved, justice was served, and a dangerous precedent was shattered. Final thought. In 17 minutes, the SAS rewrote the rules of counterterrorism and changed history forever. This story stands as a tribute to the unmatched bravery of the SAS and the quiet resilience of the hostages who endured those harrowing days.